I want to move on to this game I like to play with my guests. It's called Choose Between Two. Essentially, I'm going to give you choices between two. You're going to choose one, and you're just going to elaborate on it. Are you ready to play, David?
I am.
All right. Number one, Stuart Gordon or David Cronenberg?
David Cronenberg.
Ah, interesting. Very cool. Very cool. Mario Bava or Lucio Fulci?
Fulci.
Ah, again, another interesting one. This one I usually I had to tweak this one for you because usually the question is physical media or streaming, and I know you're going to say physical media, so I'm going to change this up a bit. Which one is more enjoyable for you? Being going back to the days of being in a video store and scrounging around and looking for different titles and such, or going on a streaming site and going around looking for titles there? Which one was always
Video
more
store,
better?
hands down. I mean, even like particularly those early days before the video recordings that came in, those are some of the happiest experiences of my childhood, was going into that store and just picking up the covers and looking, because so many of them were not in the Dennis Gifford book and the
Hmm.
House of Hammer magazine. It was like, bloody moon, what is this? And then there's all the gory pictures on the back. I have to see this. So there was, you just realized that there were so many more movies out there than even were covered in those encyclopedias and horror books that were out there. So yeah, those video shops were amazing. I can still remember the smell of the first video shop I went to, probably 9 years old.
I loved going to the video store. Again, the smells because they have like kind of like they sell their own kind of confectionery kind of stuff that you can take it home or what have you. But
Yeah.
also, I just really liked just looking around and looking at the different covers of stuff, and you can pick it up and you just flip it around and you read the back and everything. And yeah, I really admire this. Do you think there can ever be a chance that maybe in the future, maybe even the present day, that like there could be a pop-up video store that pops up somewhere and
Yeah,
someone
it
does something
happens,
like
but
that?
I think it's more to browse than to actually
Right,
rent films. I don't.
right.
I mean, there's one here in LA actually, Vidiots, which you can still go in, but it's still DVDs and Blu-rays and
Hmm.
that kind of thing mostly. But yeah, but the smell of Gray's Video in Arnold, the first one that I went to, it wasn't as sophisticated as that. It didn't have a popcorn machine and confectionery. It basically had lots of cigarette smoke and ash all over the place, coupled with like new plastic, because it was
Right.
like the beginning of video. So basically, a lot of the things were fresh out of the factory, so they had a very particular smell.
What I know that the first film that you saw to really open up things for you was cinema, but the choice here is do you prefer watching things in cinema or watching things at home, whether it be back in the day on VHS or today on DVD Blu-ray?
Definitely watching them in the cinema, although I watch more things at home now, but I still go to the cinema quite a lot.
And just to finish this off, if when you're at the cinema and you sit down about to watch a movie, what's your go-to, popcorn or candy?
A candy, because popcorn gets stuck in my throat, so it has
Oh,
to be like chocolate raisins or something like that.
okay, cool. I usually say candy too because I've been to so many screenings that give free popcorn. I don't know, I think popcorn just doesn't. But what I love about those screenings though is when my kids get free popcorn and they think they've hit the mother load. They absolutely love it. So
Yeah, I never used to even get popcorn when we went to the cinema when I was a kid. We had like Kiora Orange, which was kind of a thing where you put the straw in the plastic thing, really cheap, shitty orange.
mhm.
And yeah, I want to say there was like candy bars and stuff, but no, we never got popcorn. They had popcorn machines, but it was just something I didn't particularly like.
Just want to move on to this other game I like to play. It's called Rapid Fire Questions. So I'll throw some questions to you. First thing comes to mind, just let me know if you want to elaborate on it. We can. You have made lots of documentaries about horror movies. Is there a documentary on a horror movie you've seen that isn't your own that you are a big fan of?
Of recent ones, I would say Hodorowski's Dune is the real standout. I mean, it's not really a making of because the movie never actually got made,
Mm.
but it was, about something that was prepped but never actually went before the cameras. And I think that documentary with Hodorowski being kind of the host of the documentary, that's probably the one that I've revisited, more than once of all the kind of filmmaking documentaries that have been made in recent years. And Hodorowski's he's just such a brilliant storyteller, as I found when I made the Santa Sangre making of. But yeah, just his Dune. I mean, you can just imagine what an incredible film it was, which is really credit to the filmmakers and him as a storyteller to kind of pull that off. But I also would like to kind of just mention that, back when I started doing these, there were relatively very few making ofs of genre movies. I mean, Star Wars and things like that had their own making ofs, mainly big budget films, but there weren't really any on films or filmmakers from the low budget world, which is hard to imagine now because we have seemingly thousands of them.
Mm.
Many that I've that I've made, but several other people have made as well. And Document of the Dead was kind of one of the pioneers there. The fact that Roy Frumkes took his students to the making of Dawn of the Dead was just very fortuitous. The fact that we actually got to see on-set footage of the making of Dawn of the Dead was amazing. It's a bit dated now because there are so many Dawn of the Dead making ofs as well now, but to actually have been on the set was and see that footage is amazing. But I think the one that made the biggest impression on me personally, like the pioneering show, was called the Incredibly Strange Film Show, which was Jonathan Ross hosted show from the late 80s, and it had two seasons of six and then kind of a sort of follow-up called For One Night Only. But the very first episode was on John Waters, and that was just mind-blowing to me. There was nothing like it at the time, documentaries about a filmmaker like that. And then they did Ray Dennis Steckler, Herschel Gordon Lewis, Ted V. Mickles, and Russ Meyer in the first season. But it was the John Waters one where I really took something away from it, where I was like, wow, that's the kind of filmmaker I want to be, first of all, with your sort of friends and like-minded people going out and just making stuff. But just it really kind of opened my eyes to the fact that there was those kinds of movies out there, like psychotronic movies, I suppose is a better word than horror movies. But I just after that I just became obsessed with John Waters and how he was able to actually make these kinds of movies for little or no money. And so I got Shock Value, his book, and every other book he'd written, and all of his films, and all the books about him, and all that kind of thing. But that show was really quite something because there was nothing like that about those kinds of filmmakers at the time.
And it might be a challenge for this one for you, considering the titles that you have behind you right now. What's the goriest movie you've ever seen?
I mean, it's probably Brain Dead, the Peter Jackson movie, just because that's got the most blood out of any movie ever, I think. So, I mean, if that's what you mean with the most gore in it, that's in there, it's probably Brain Dead.
Is there a movie that you would love to get your hands on and restore and release through Severin that you haven't been able to do yet? Is one of those come up in your life yet?
Same answer, I guess. I mean, we all want to do those early Peter Jackson movies, but they're being held prisoner by Peter Jackson. So we'll see if it ever happens. But if it does, it's unlikely to be a company like ours. I'm sure he'll go with Sony or somebody massive.
Last one here, and it'll be interesting to know your answer since you've been in the US for so long. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Yes.
Oh, I had a couple yeses lately. Usually the answer is no, and that is the correct answer, no. But some people have said yes lately, so I'm not being swayed. But the balance is it's right now it's around. I'd say maybe a month ago it was 80-20.
Hawaiian pizza is my second favorite after pepperoni and mushroom.
Do you like just the pineapple on its own? Because I know some people say they don't only want the pineapple, they want the olives and like all the other stuff on there as well. They want like a loaded kind of pizza experience.
Oh no, it has to be a Hawaiian. I don't think it could just be like an everything pizza. That sounds a bit grim to me.
Just stupid question I'm going to ask here. What's a pizza situation like in the UK? Is it how's over there? Because you've been in the US, I'm sure you're spoiled choice, especially in LA. We get some good slices, and if you go to New
Well,
York and
you'd be
offices there.
surprised. We're often trying to find a better pizza place in LA. I've just come back from. I go to France quite often because that's where my mum lives,
Hmm.
and they have amazing pizza in the south of France. They do not have anything close to that here in Los Angeles.
Hmm.
Uh, and I would argue they don't in New York either. I'm sorry, New
Oh,
York. It's really kind of what you grow up with, isn't it? The kind of pizza that you like. Because
yeah.
Chicago love Chicago pizza, Bostonians love Boston pizza. But for me, it's the pizza in the south of France, because that part of the south of France actually used to be Italy. So I think
Hmm.
that's probably why there's such an Italian influence. But I actually
Right.
have better pizza in the south of France than I do even in Italy.
Awesome. That sounds great.
Whereas
Great,
England,
great
when
thing
I
to
was
learn.
growing up, I was quite satisfied with the Perfect Pizza was a place that we used to order from regularly. There was a place called Darwood's near my house, which I thought this pizza was amazing, but I bet if I was to have it now, I'd think it was rubbish.
Thank you for watching the Matt's Movie Reviews channel. Please subscribe for more reviews, podcast interviews, and exclusive content.